And now let's go back to one of our top stories on the big, beautiful bill. And we have Reena Shah. She's a political commentator and the CEO at RILEX Strategies. Reena, great having you for a second. What's your take on the strategy behind the One Big Beautiful Bill?
Well, the One Big Beautiful Bill is a all-in strategy, and it's one that's very bold, intended to boost Trump's agenda while wrapping it up into one sweeping package. And look, I'm somebody that's worked in the halls of Capitol Hill on the House side. I'm not a big fan of mega bills. Not many people in Washington are, but we know why Republicans, and particularly President Trump, wanted to see this done like so. He wanted to bundle tax cuts, border security, and spending reforms as a way for Republicans to project unity and decisiveness, and essentially capitalizing on the very narrow majorities they have in the House. As well as the Senate. So it's a high-stakes move to essentially fulfill campaign promises fast, but what it does is risks alienating moderates and also invites Senate pushback due to its sheer scope. So when we look at this strategy, you see what the bet is on here. It's a bet on Trump's personal brand, as well as on Republican momentum to really overpower critics. And it may struggle, though, with public skepticism, because we're seeing right now, Americans in many polls are more opposed to this One Big Beautiful Bill than they are in support of it.
And what stands out most in the bill's approach to border security and immigration?
You know, this bill's border security approach is aggressive and it's unprecedented in so many ways. What it does is allocates $46.5 billion for Trump's border wall, which he never finished in his first term, and also $4 billion for new Border Patrol agents, and funds as well for mass deportation, something that, of course, we know was central to his campaign. But it also introduces very steep fees here, like $1,000 for asylum applications and $550 for work permits, which critics of President Trump say really punishes legal and undocumented immigrants alike. So what I see here is a shift. What it does is signal also a shift from reform to enforcement, and that prioritizes deterrence over humanitarian concerns. It's a very stark message to the base, but it risks backlash for its financial burden on the most vulnerable groups who try to come here seeking asylum and a new life in America.
At the same time, some critics called it overreach in many other aspects of the bill, not only the one we just spoke about. How do you see it affecting checks and balances?
Look, you know, critics have called this bill overreach to a point because of its massive scope. It's hard to really push back on that argument. And what it's also going to do is use reconciliation, which is a very unpopular process for many Democrats, because what it does is also bypasses Senate filibusters. And that limits debate as well as Democratic input. So that tactic, though, I have to remind our audience, it's a legal tactic, but it strains the Senate's role as a very deliberative check. So the bill's size also, I think, is something we should consider because it challenges congressional oversight, and that's as lawmakers have had very little time to review its nearly 1,000 pages. Now, another thing to note that is newsworthy is today, Senator Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, deployed a tactic that's rarely been used since 1980, and that was to force a reading of this bill on the floor of the Senate, and that took about 15 hours. We know it's wrapping up right now. So at the end of the day, some of the checks are remaining intact here, but long term, this approach could really erode bipartisan norms, and that deepens partisan gridlock in Washington.
Reena Shah, thank you so much. Great having you.
Thank you.